Welcome to Single Mom Survive and Thrive. Just me plus 3, and we're living our best life. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my third episode entitled A New Normal. This is such an impactful time, I believe, in everybody's transition from being not a single parent to being a single parent. I thought it would be just absolutely important to discuss this situation and this topic with a very good friend of mine who is also a fellow single mommy, and we can both attest to the time that we walked through with that and how challenging it was, but also how rewarding, and some of the memories we took from that and some of the lessons that we learned. So I really hope that you guys can all enjoy listening to our discussion and really take away something from today's episode. Thank you guys for listening. Enjoy. This particular person that I'm interviewing today is a very good friend of mine, and I want to introduce her by first cheersing with a glass of wine, because like all traditions on this, we have to start the episode with a drink. So cheers, Miss Nancy.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I want to introduce my friend. Her name is Nancy. And Nancy, say hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome to my podcast.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Yay. So I'm really excited for everybody to hear about Nancy's stories and just hear a little bit about how we have navigated the world from old to new, meaning old life to new life, old normal to new normal. That's what this episode is about, is that transition. So we talked a bit about in the first episode, just making that choice to leave. The second episode was getting through some of the first experiences. And then now it's really about transforming into that new normal that you create for yourself. And that is your normal now. You're a single parent, you're a single mom, you have kids by yourself, and how do you move forward? How do you thrive and not just survive? So Nancy, tell me about your life, just in a brief summary, your story, from when you were a young adult, high school, whatever, how you are here today.
Well, I met my kid's father when I was about 19, 20. And I was in a time in my life, I'm Latina, Mexican American, and I was a lesbian, and I wanted to have kids, and family pressures, hey, don't you want to have kids? Don't you want to be a mom? In the 90s, it was unheard of me having kids with a woman. So I decided that, hey, you know what? If I meet, I was always really, I'm very comfortable with men. I grew up with men. They were mostly all my friends, my friends were mostly men. So I was very comfortable around them. So I said, if I can find a guy that I can not only see as a friend, but I can see as a romantic partner, let's do it and let me try it. So I did. I met a guy that, we could be friends with and vibe on the music. We were both into electronic music. I decided hey, I think this might be the guy that I could have kids with.
Let me just ask you, since you said, obviously you're a lesbian, so at that time, did he know that?
Well, when we started dating, he pulled me aside once. We were hanging out with his friends, and which I was really confused because a lot of his friends were my high school friends, but I guess no one told him. I don't. But he pulled me aside one day and he was like, "Hey, can I ask you something?" And I was like, "Sure." And he's like, "Do you like women?" And I'm like, "Random." Why do you ask? He's like, "Because I catch you checking women out all the time. I've never seen you check out a guy." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I like you." That was always my answer to him.
Oh.
But I like you. So in the sense, to me, that made me straight. Because I didn't even I totally put myself back in the closet. Because I was like, bisexuality, I'm not, because I'm going to be with him now. So I'm straight now. So my answer to him was always, but I like you. So I was upfront from the beginning. Let him know that, I did, was in relationships with women since I was 14. I had never been, with guys, and I just had a change of heart and really wanted to try this. Like, I really want to try this. I want to have kids and, let's see how it goes. He was willing to kind of take that chance. So that's how my journey began as a mom. A couple years into the relationship. Let's see, we had our first child probably 2-3 years into the relationship. And once I had my son, I already knew like this is not what I want. But I had planned out my life. I had said I want two kids. I want a son. And 4 years later, I want a daughter. And I remember thinking like a couple years into the relationship, okay, if I leave him, can I find a woman, fall in love, and have my daughter within a 4-year span?
Wow.
Yeah, after thinking that, and of course, having love for the guy, you know, he was good to me. You know, like every relationship we had our issues.
Yeah.
He was a very disconnected person. And for me, I was always used to being with a woman. I feel like, I don't know, we have some like a tighter emotional connection. So I just felt very empty in that relationship, like very not fulfilled on a personal, intimate sense. But I wanted to be a mom. You know, so when I became a mom, I was really, really happy. That's what fulfilled me for the first couple of years, because I was like, you know, I'm a mom. I love this. I have my little family. You know, not my white picket fence yet, but you know, I wanted that. I wanted to be normal. And even though in my heart, after a couple of years, I knew like this doesn't feel like I want it to feel. But from the outsiders, my family was happy. You know, I now had a kid. See, everybody's like, see, you didn't, you know, that was like a phase for you. And I heard it so much that I started believing it. Yeah, maybe women were a phase for me. But, you know, deep down inside, I knew like something was missing for me. But again, I wanted the normal. I wanted the family. I wanted the white picket fence. When I finally got pregnant with my daughter, I was like, now I got my 2 kids. We had a dog. We were now living in a home. We had the white picket fence, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm winning at life. And I got that picture that my family wanted for me, that I wanted for me, because I always wanted to be normal. You know, it hasn't been easy, but that's why when people say, you know, you pick to be gay or lesbian, you know, I always used to think, no, I've wanted to be normal all my life. And now that I have 2 kids, it's like, they're my commitment. They're my life. They're who I live for. Yeah. And I will sacrifice myself for forever if I have to.
Yeah.
And that included my happiness. But we started getting more and more disconnected. We did the couples therapy because I really wanted to make it work. Yeah. But the type of...
Because you have like a loyal personality anyway, right? Like that's what I know about you.
Yeah.
So I know that like me, you know, in our situation and that similarity, like to go against that nature, it's difficult, you know, it is. We're loyal people and that is difficult, you know.
Right. Because even though we had like I said, our ups and downs in our relationship, I felt like I owed it to him and I owed it to my kids for me to just make this work. And I remember I would call it my pap smear check, because every year, you know, we'd sit down and we'd be drinking and just listening to music, and he'd be like, hey, so do you still like women? And I'd be like, yes. And at that point I was a lot more comfortable, and I barely like men.
Yeah. He was trying to pray the gay away.
Yeah. And he would say, my fear is that one day you're going to leave me for a woman. And I would say, that is my fear too. Wow. And we would cry, and we would cry together and just hope that day would never come.
Okay. So from that conversation, what came after that?
Well, it was several years. That's why I called it, I ended up calling it my pap smear check, because it was like once a year we'd have this conversation. Yeah. But in my heart, I was still, like you said, very loyal. And I'm like, I'm going to make this work. And these thoughts that I'm having, or these urges that I'm having, giving my kid this life is way more important than for me to choose me. Right. Like, there's no way I'm going to choose me. Like, I used to talk to myself, there's no way. And then I had my daughter, and like, step back. We got married.
Oh, okay.
And the day before my wedding, I cried and I cried and I cried. And I told him, I can't do this. And he was like, we're doing it. Everything's paid for. We're doing it. But no,
you had true cold feet. Wow.
Yes, for sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So got married, was pregnant. I was pregnant at my wedding.
Oh, how pregnant?
I was like 4 months pregnant.
Yeah, that's so funny because that's so similar to my story. I have when we got engaged, I was pregnant. No, Nikki was, my oldest was a few months old and stuff. And so we started planning the wedding super quick. And then we scheduled the wedding and then I got pregnant. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like 5-6 months pregnant so I started having to shop for pregnancy wedding dresses. And I was like losing my mind, like this is going to look so bad, And as it happened, we didn't move forward with the wedding and we canceled the wedding, long story short. But we rekindled later and we got married at a later time. But it was going to be me. I was going to be you, I guess. So that makes me laugh. That's funny.
I bought my wedding dress before I got pregnant.
Oh.
So
and 4 months, you're not too big.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And since I think 2-3 more weeks, that dress would not have fit me.
Yeah.
But went through with the wedding. And then once I remember I used to watch Oprah. I was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And there was somebody who was talking about coming out and I was like, am I really, like, I really, really put myself back in the closet. Like I was like, I don't know, maybe these are just urges. Like
like secret desires or something.
Yes. So I went to Barnes and Noble and bought this book that was going to tell me if I was a lesbian, I was like,
wow,
because I needed confirmation because I was like, no, even though I came out so young, I came out when I was 14, but I don't know. I really really wanted my family. They were my commitment to me. And I could not see myself, like I said, choosing myself over them. Mm-hmm. Because now I had my little pair. I had, and but I felt so empty in our relationship. There was no connection. He's not that type of person. He just doesn't like to communicate, doesn't like to talk, not very loving, So I felt really empty. So I got my fulfillment from my children.
Yeah. By the way, it sounds like a good, maybe I'm just guessing, maybe about 80% of men out there. I just throw that out there. I'm sure there's a lot of women listening going, yeah, that's my ex-husband, my boyfriend. Like, it makes me laugh. I'm like, that sounds like my dad, sounds like my brother, no, I mean, not all men are like that. Not all men are disconnected. Not all men. There's some very emotional. I mean, I'm like you. I like men, but I like men to have a bit of a womanly trait.
In touch with their feminine side, right?
Yeah. Because it's nothing worse. And anyway, so.
Yeah. So I felt so empty, and you do learn, men and women are different, going through couples therapy, we were learning that.
Yeah.
She would give us homework and he wouldn't do it, or, he just continued the disconnection. And I would tell him, he had anger issues that I had to deal with also. But I would tell him, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave one day. And he just wouldn't believe it because he knew how much I was loving my mom life and how much it meant to me to be a mom. And he never thought that, that I would leave, for those reasons. Yeah. So I watched Oprah and I was like, oh my God, I think that might be me.
Oh,
it was, about coming out a little later in life. And so then, even then I was like, shit, okay. After reading that book, I was like, okay, I think that's me, but no, I'm not going to choose me. I'm not going to choose me. I'm going to choose my children because who am I to take this family away from my children? They deserve to have this family that was so disconnected. Like I wasn't showing my kids what a loving couple looked like.
Right.
I'd sleep with my kid in his bed. Like it was just not a very loving relationship that I was showing them. But at the time I didn't